You're listening to the Generational Wealth Through Commercial Real Estate podcast. Your host, Will Smith, is a former NFL player that found his passion in commercial real estate. Every week, you will learn from industry experts everything you need to know to get started investing in commercial real estate to build generational wealth.
Ladies and gentlemen, today's guest is John Mays. He is the CEO and co-founder of Pinnacle Storage Properties and Pinnacle Storage Managers. John is responsible for driving the culture, direction, and overall operation of the organization. He has been involved in self-storage since 2005, serving in multiple executive level roles. As managing member, John is responsible for all aspects of day-to-day operations of partner-owned self-storage facilities, currently totaling over 1 million net rentable square feet and 7,500 units. As co-owner of Pinnacle Storage Properties, LLC, John qualifies projects through high-level underwriting, performs due diligence, and leads the raising of equity. In just under 4 years, John has raised $35 million in private equity to build a $100 million portfolio. John, welcome to the show, man. How you doing today?
Great, brother. How are you?
Good, man. I'm glad to have you on the show. You my first self-storage guest, and I'm looking forward to it today.
Awesome. I'm excited.
Absolutely, man. So tell my listeners, man, how did you get into this investing game?
Well, now you're going to take me back about 30 years. So back, I grew up in New Jersey and bought my first house at 23 years old. And, scraped up enough money to put the 3% down for FHA. And I was a newlywed and bought my first house. And, my brother James moved in with me. And we were sitting on a sofa one night. And an infomercial from John Sheets came on the TV on how to buy real estate with no money, right?
Right.
And it was $160 for his program.
Yeah.
I looked at my brother James and I said, hey, let's buy that and we'll split it. I'll pay 80, you pay 80. And James said, I ain't got $80. And I was like, man, I don't want to spend $160 on this program.
Right.
So I was talking to another buddy of mine. He said, why don't you just go buy a book on it? So I went and bought a book on how to buy real estate with little or no money.
Yeah.
Within 4 years from there, I owned 5 single family homes and 2 small multifamily, a 4-plex and a 6-plex.
Yeah.
All with no money, right?
Wow.
At the same time as I was in retail. I spent 17 years in retail. I always say like the Walmarts and Kmarts of the world, even though I didn't work for either of them. I worked for a lot of the regional players around the United States. So I was doing what probably most of your audience does, and that is holding down a full-time job at the same time as trying to create wealth, right?
Right.
Fast forward 17 years, moved in and out of those assets, made some money, lost some money, things like that. Fast forward 17 years, I got burnt out on retail.
Yeah.
So I was a district manager and regional level executive in retail, and I wanted to stay on that multifamily self-storage or multifamily retail type of environment.
Right.
So I started to apply to jobs like the general manager of warehousing and of 3 warehouses and the regional manager of multifamily properties. And I applied to a self-storage gig. Yeah. And I took the job with Uncle Bob's Self-Storage as a DM.
Right.
So they're now called Life Storage, but I learned how to run those properties, and from there, got promoted from DM to regional vice president, and had 120 self-storage properties reporting directly to me.
Yeah.
So I learned how to run them effectively and efficiently with Uncle Bob's. I left Uncle Bob's to be the COO of the Jenkins organization here in Houston, Texas, and they owned and operated 55 self-storage properties.
Mm-hmm.
So I was there for about 5 years, and I learned how to buy them, fix them up, underwrite them, etc.
Yeah.
So if you go back 30 years on my how to buy real estate with no money,
right, and
you combine that through the years of learning how to operate businesses and then learning how to operate storage, here I am, 2015.
Yep.
Bought my first self-storage property on my own in Bernie, Texas,
mm-hmm.
and been crushing it ever since. We started Pinnacle Storage Properties in 2016, March of 2016, and
yep.
we own 20 properties right now. I have 5 in the pipeline. I'm getting ready to partner on 6 others. So just within the next 60 to 90 days, we'll have 31 properties.
Yeah.
I know my bio says I've raised $35 million, but I've actually raised $41 million worth of private equity already.
Yeah.
I've managed to grow a portfolio. Probably in the next 90 days will be $150 million portfolio.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's been fun. It's been a journey.
Yeah.
I started small, like a lot of your audiences do, but even then, I don't think they have to start small. They can start in storage or in commercial real estate.
Yeah.
I took my experience from back then and retail and all that and combined it to what I do right now.
Right. So, I mean, so you did single family, multi-family, and then you was in the corporate world kind of doing that on the side. But then you got to a point where you was able to buy your own asset. So what was it about self-storage that you decided to go with that instead of buying like a small multifamily property?
There's a couple things there. The first thing is I did the multifamily thing. It's painful. And the reason it's painful is because you deal with toilets, tenants, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
When a recession hits, because it's not if, it's a matter of when, right?
Right.
When a recession hits, there's a reality there, and that is you now have these assets that you have to rent. In storage, when the economy's good, people rent with us. When the economy's bad, people rent with us. So in single family, multifamily, when the economy's bad, people consolidate, and the first thing they consolidate is their bills.
Right.
Well, a lot of times rent is part of that. And the reality is they don't get rid of their stuff.
Yep. Yeah.
So they need a place to put it. So if you're paying $1,000 a month on a 2-bedroom apartment someplace in the United States, and you can't afford that, and you move it back in with your mom or dad,
yeah,
what do you do with the 2 bedrooms worth of stuff? Well, you rent with me for $125, and now you say to yourself, well, I just saved $875 a month. Let me regroup, recapitalize my own personal life, and there I go. So storage is a recession-resistant type of asset.
Yeah.
Different than strip center commercial or multifamily commercial or high-rise commercial, because the same thing happens in businesses. Is when the economy goes bad in business, they scale back, they shut down their non-performing stores in retail, in service, things like that, and you're left with a strip center that's empty, right?
Right.
Well, I don't. In storage, we're on 30-day leases. Most of your commercial leases are 4 to 5 years. Most of your apartment complexes are 15 months, 12, 15 months.
Yeah.
So when the economy goes bad and you're scrambling in your rents to lease up those properties, we're not, because people are moving in. We're actually raising our rent during a downtime.
Wow.
Everybody else is lowering their rent.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
that's crazy, man.
It is, ain't it?
Wow. So
supply and demand, and when the demand increases because the economy goes bad, you raise the rent. And technically I can raise it every 30 days. I don't. I'm not that
Well, that's good. That's good, man. So tell me.
Here's another reason.
Okay.
When you have a single family or a multi-family unit that somebody moves out of,
yeah,
you have a refresh rate on that, right? So you budget $3,000 to $5,000 to refresh that particular unit.
Yeah.
I walk in with a broom and a dustpan when somebody moves out.
Yeah.
I sweep the unit.
Right.
And I re-rent it. So my cost of overhead's a lot less too in storage than what it is in single family and multifamily. So there are just a couple of reasons. You asked me why.
Right.
There are a couple of reasons I prefer storage over anything. I don't fix toilets.
Yeah.
I don't have to refresh them. I don't like the laws for tenant, try to kick out a single mom that's not paying her rent.
Yeah.
Well, if a single mom that doesn't pay our rent, the laws fall favor to storage.
Yeah.
We have 60 days, they're gone.
Right.
Single mom in your environment, a single family or multifamily, 6 months, a year, and now you're supporting that mortgage payment while they're not paying you. That doesn't happen in storage. We evict them.
Yeah, yeah, gotcha. Now, I will say too, though, it also depends on the state. Some states are landlord friendly as well.
That's correct.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So, when you're looking at a potential opportunity, what are you looking at far as market wise? What does a typical market look like when you're trying to identify a self-storage opportunity?
So for me, there's 55,000 self-storage properties in the United States. Only 12% of that population is publicly traded by the REITs. Wow. There's another 17% that are traded by big money players or what I consider like private REITs.
Yeah.
So that's like 29%. So let's just call it 30% of the population is traded by big money of some type. There's another 70% of that population that is owned by the one-off operator, or what we're going to call the mom and pops.
That's right.
So there's still a ton of room for consolidation there. So what we do is we look for undermanaged, under-enhanced, under-expanded properties.
Yeah.
Or what's called the mom and pop, right?
Right, right.
And then we look in secondary, suburban, and some tertiary type of markets. So most of your big money players want to go into the top 50 MSAs. Yeah. And they want to go into the inner core of those top 50 MSAs. So like speaking of Houston as an example, we have like a couple different beltways that go around Houston. They want to be from the beltways in. Where I want to be on the outskirts of those beltways in those suburban markets. Right. And then like we own a property in Nacogdoches, Texas, where Stephen F. Austin University is. Mm-hmm. Population 45,000 people. So to me, that's a secondary market. Yeah. It's not a primary. It's not attached to a major city. It's out 2 hours from Houston, but it has a college to it. So it draws businesses and it draws population based on the college itself. Yeah. And then every now and again, we'll go into tertiary markets that either is a county seat or a recreational destination. Like we own a property in Livingston, Texas, where Lake Livingston is. Mm-hmm. Population's only 8,000 people. Yeah. It's only an hour from Houston, and everybody owns summer houses there. Right. So we get the population storing out there, particularly with boat and RV and things like that, because it's secondary to the Houston market. Right. So we do a lot of secondary, suburban, and some tertiary type of stuff. Yeah. We look for populations of 45,000 or better populations. Yeah. Has to be a county seat or a college town or some type of recreational area that draws us there. Yeah, yeah. So when you're looking at these opportunities, what is? I heard you say the value add that you're looking for on them. How do people typically add value to self-storage facilities? Now, if I tell you that, all your audience is going to know that, right? So
give me some nuggets, man.
I'll give you some nuggets. So most of your mom and pops don't have a late fee, or they have a minimal late fee. Most of your mom and pops don't do tenant insurance, where they require the tenant to have insurance. They don't do U-Haul. They don't have an admin fee. So these are all what's ancillary income.
Yeah.
Most of them. So I bought a property somewhere around Houston that was doing $13,000 a month. Yeah. It was 20,000 square foot. It had an extra 4 acres of land. Yeah. It was 100% occupied when I bought it. Mm-hmm. So manual gates, gravel customer parking lot, but concrete drives, metal buildings. Yeah. It had deer heads in the office and wild boar and all that, the old 1970s wood paneling that you and I grew up with. Yeah. On the walls. We went in, new lights, new cameras, new gate, new office, new security system, concreted the drive, did a full-blown expansion on the 4 acres. When we bought it 100% occupied, doing $13,000 a month, by the time we even started renting the expansion a year later, and during construction on the existing property, we increased revenue to $30,000 a month on the existing property. Wow. And then did the expansion.
Good gracious.
Well, the store now is doing $60,000 a month.
Wow.
So if that gives you an idea,
that's crazy, man.
We do.
Wow, wow.
Rent increases. Then, on 100% occupied, you don't have nothing to sell, right?
Yeah.
So that tells you your rent's too low.
Yeah.
So you can go in, raise rents, add value that way, do mandatory insurance, legal, assertive, late fees, admin fees, those kind of things. Yeah. Just in the ancillary income, I can add 10% of revenue to a store just like that.
Wow.
So if you got a store that's doing $30,000 a month, and I do nothing else on rent increases, but I add the operational magic that we do. Yeah. Now it's doing $33,000 a month.
Yeah.
If you take $3,000 a month, that's $36,000 a year, right?
Yeah.
If you divide that by a 6 cap, that's $600,000 worth of value added just by adding those ancillary income.
Man, do the math on that one. You just got that six extra revenue on it. What's the math on that one, man?
I think my calculator says stupid. The math is stupid.
I believe it, man.
We've added like $3 million worth of value to that property. So, wow. And you say give you some nuggets. The nuggets are run it better.
Yep.
Be better to your customers. Give them a better service. I always use the example of Starbucks, right? You can go into a rundown gas station that works on cars and so on. Yep. You can walk into their showroom and you can buy a cup of coffee for 80 cents, right? Mm-hmm. Everything's greasy. The bathroom's dirty. The coffee's nasty.
Yeah.
You can pay 80 cents for a cup of coffee. Or you can go to Starbucks and sit on leather sofas with free Wi-Fi and nice music, but you pay $5 for a cup of coffee, right?
Yeah.
But that's what we do is we fix up the office. We put like those nice wine coolers that have sodas and we put a Keurig and we make it all about the experience.
Yeah.
And then we charge you for it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. So if somebody was trying to get into this game, man, how would they go about finding deals?
That's a great question. So I'll take that in a couple different routes, and I'll end up at the how they find the deals.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, if you want to get into storage, the best thing to do is go find somebody that's already doing it.
Yeah.
And one of the things, like I just shared with you on how to add value, I didn't say, get the right debt, get the right equity, all that's important for you to make money. Okay. But you got to know how to operate these things. So go find somebody that knows how to operate them and then partner with them.
Yeah.
That's the easiest and most effective way. I always say there's 4 parts to a deal. The first part is finding the deal. The second part is raising the capital as the equity, signing on debt and having enough signing power to sign on debt, and then operating the deal. The problem is in storage, the operators don't get the respect and or the appreciation for being one of those 4. They think anybody can operate these, and it's true. Anybody can operate them, but you're not going to make as much money if you find somebody that knows how to operate them. That's number 1. Number 2, the thing I tell people all the time is get involved. Start going to your local self-storage meetup groups. Start going to like here in Texas, we have the Texas Self-Storage Association. Start going to their luncheons. They have them all over the state. Start going to their annual conference. The Self-Storage Association, the SSA, has national conferences. Like this year, it's in San Antonio in March. The ISS, Inside Self-Storage, has them in Vegas every year. My biggest advice is get involved, because it's still a mom and pop relationship type of business.
Right.
So this in single family is if you become friends with the dude at the bank that does all the foreclosures, you get first look at those foreclosures.
That's right. That's right.
Well, there's not many foreclosures in storage. That's the good news. The foreclosure rate in storage is about 2% compared to single family and multifamily in the 30% range. So there's your hedge against inflation and against protection of liability. Even if you suck at running these things, it's still probably not going to be foreclosed on.
Right.
So that's what I mean. But you're probably not going to make the type of returns that I explained on the $36,000 versus $600,000. But the 2 biggest pieces of advice I give is find somebody in storage that knows what they're doing, and then go get involved and build relationships. And those will bring you deals. Can you target a market, buy a list of storage properties, and send them letters? Sure, you can do it. Your odds are going to be lower. You're not going to have the track record of being able to close deals. And because of that, the seller is going to be reluctant to give you information. If you partner with somebody that already has that history, and you find a deal, the seller's more likely to give you that information because of reputation. So all of those little things play into making it easier to find a deal and do a deal. So my brother finally figured out what I do for a living after so many years. And he said, all right, how do I get involved? And I said, find a deal. And he found a creative way to get to the seller and build a relationship with that seller by utilizing our partnership between his company and mine. And he's brought me 25 deals in the last 60 days.
Good gracious.
Of which we've taken a run at 4 of them. We have 1 under contract right now. So you see how it keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And we'll probably close 1 or 2 of those over the next year. But they would never have looked at him if he didn't say I'm partners with Pinnacle Storage Properties, because then they go to my website, look at my company's bio and our background and so on, and they go, okay, these guys are serious. So it's a little bit harder if you're starting out by yourself with no history. So go partner with somebody, face your fear, call the owner. They can tell you no, and they probably will. I get phone calls every day of whether I want to sell my properties or not. but it's not as hard as people think.
Yeah.
You can get in on the signing on debt and being a partner that way. You can get in on knowing friends and family that want to invest in storage, and you can get in that way. You can go in by finding it, or you can go in and by operating it. And that's the 4 ways you can get in on doing a storage deal.
Yeah.
Being brand new to the industry.
Right.
But get involved. Don't
right.
sit on your sofa and say, I want to do storage.
Yeah.
Get out there, meet people, talk to people, understand it, and then find somebody to partner with.
Right.
And then do the deal.
That's some good points, man. A lot of people have analysis paralysis where they keep thinking about it, talking about it, but they never take action. And without massive action, man, you can't have massive success. So those some good points there, really good points. All right, so how do you already talked about how you choose your markets, whether it's, there needs to be about 45,000 people there, and, you don't want to be in the hub of the city. You want to kind of be on the outskirts. But as far as the markets go, are you kind of investing across the whole U.S. or are you kind of focusing on Texas? Like, where are you focusing right now?
Yes. So I'll go anywhere that a good deal is, right? So something I didn't highlight before is we also look at square foot per capita in that market. So to see if the market's oversaturated.
Well, hold on. Explain that term there, because a lot of people don't know what that means.
Sure. So it's how many square foot per 1,000 people within that market. So the national average is 7.2 square foot of storage space. So if you look at that, that's like a 3x3 space is 9 square foot. So it's even smaller than that is the national average. We look for anything lower than that 7.2 compared to what the population is, because we buy undermanaged, under-enhanced, under-expanded properties, and probably 50 or 60% of our properties are expansion properties. So we don't want to go into a market and expand a property that doesn't have enough demand there.
Right.
So we look at the square foot per capita in that market to ensure that there's enough room for us to do an expansion and add value that way as well. Yeah. So if you think about it, let's say that you can build for $60 a square foot and sell for $100 a square foot, and you add 10,000 square foot to a property, and you have that 40,000 square foot, that $40 a square foot of value that you add once you lease it up.
Yeah.
Why not? Right? As long as the demand's there.
Right.
But you can put 10,000 square foot on the ground and never lease it up, and you just wasted $60 a square foot to build it. Right?
Yeah.
So there's a value add component there that we look at when we do those kind of expansions. Yeah. Or buy any of those properties. And then the other cue to us is when they're 95, 97, 100% occupied, that tells me there's enough demand in the market to support dropping that occupancy to 88%. Yeah. And raising rates, which adds the value as well. Right. So we come from all different angles in looking at those demographics for those markets. Yeah. We also look for a 45,000 annual income per household or better. So it's 45,000 population or 45,000 annual income per household or better. Yeah. So in other words, that's a good suburban market that the common working class kind of guy that's going to work every day that needs storage, and when it's undersupplied, makes for a perfect entrance for us. Right.
Now, one thing that kind of scares me with self-storage, and hopefully you can help me alleviate this fear, is, with other asset classes getting so tight with compressed cap rates, people are looking for different asset classes to get into, and there's some guys that they'll just quickly go build something. So what's to stop somebody from building like right beside you or right down the block for you? Like, how do you kind of hedge against that so you can, protect your revenues?
Bluntly, nothing stops that.
Yeah.
So, and particularly when you're secondary, suburban, and tertiary markets, it's a little bit easier to build, right? So because more in your urban core, the restrictions are a lot higher.
Right.
And then the suburbia type of zoning is getting tighter and tighter and tighter. There is some good news, and that is that most people don't want storage in their backyard.
Yeah.
Because it's ugly. It doesn't generate many jobs. You typically have 1 or 2 team members.
Right.
So the city is not all for increased sales tax because we don't have sales tax on storage. They don't have increased job growth, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So it's not always the best use of land.
Right.
So that's 1. 2, when you're dealing with a ground up lease up of building from the ground up, and most of your audience will understand this, is if you're going to build a $5 million property, it takes you 12 months to build it.
Yeah.
With 0 revenue.
Yeah.
It takes you another 36 months to lease it up.
Right.
With 0 revenue. Yet you have a $5 million mortgage. Where does that money come from? That money comes from your equity investors, and it's called interest carry. Yeah. You have to go borrow money from your investor for that interest carry, which dilutes the investor because you got to borrow more money.
Yeah.
So on a ground up deal, it's harder to get the numbers to work than buying a deal that's already cash flowing that you're adding value to, because you're already able to pay your mortgage because you got cash flow coming in the door, right?
Right.
On a ground up deal, you don't have that.
Yeah.
So is there a lot of development happening in the storage industry? Yes. And that's because in 07, 08, 09, the capital markets tightened up, so people couldn't develop because nobody was lending money.
Yeah.
So storage went during the recession. The demand for storage went through the roof.
Right.
Well, now they're bringing that demand down through more supply.
Yeah.
But it's also harder to get your numbers to work.
Yeah.
I might be in a market that's getting $1 a square foot during the before the recession. I was getting 85 cents. During the recession and after, I was able to raise to $1. Right. Well, now it's back to 85 cents because they put so much supply on the ground.
Yeah.
Building costs are more expensive than 10 years ago with all the tariffs, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The labor cost with the tight labor market we have is more expensive. So getting your numbers to work on a lower dollars per square foot and a higher construction cost and operating costs, as an investor, you're only going to get 8 or 10% on your money, right? Where I'm getting 15 to 25% on my money.
Yeah.
So where would you rather put your money, in an existing deal or in a ground up deal?
Right. Well,
and you already have cash flow, so you're hedged against anything bad happening.
Yeah.
So does it suck when somebody builds next to you? Yeah. But it only sucks when they build next to you and they tank the rates to get leased up.
Yeah.
Most good operators don't do it. Most good operators don't do it. They come in and be competitive in rates because they have to meet their pro forma, because that's what they perform it at. Right. Is the $1 a square foot. They didn't perform at 85 cents. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, man. I'm glad you explained that, and does make me feel better. Thank you. So, what's the square?
100% prevention.
Right.
It is a good way of looking at it.
Absolutely. So, what's the minimum square footage when you're looking at these facilities?
It's a great question. Is because I get people, like somebody like yourself that wants to get into storage, and they think we're the right partner, so they come to me and they want to go look for properties. And I always say, give me the opportunity to turn it down.
Yeah.
So I don't care what that square footage is.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to look at it. It really comes down to, is there enough room to do an expansion? Is there enough room to raise rates and add ancillary income and things like that? But let's say, for argument's sake, there is not room for expansion, and there's not room to convert non-climate to climate and things like that. It's just a footprint of a self-storage property. It really needs to do, at the level we run them at, it really needs to do $20,000 or more for me to be able to buy that property, which typically translates into 20,000 square foot or more, because it's typically about $1 a square foot for storage.
Right.
But like that property I was explaining to you here in Houston, it was doing $13,000 a month.
Yeah.
If I would have bought just the existing footprint, I would have paid $1.6 million for that just footprint, not with the land. I paid another $350,000 for the land. But on $1.6 million, it was doing $13,000 a month. We raised it to $30,000, which makes it worth $3.2 million.
Yeah.
Just on the existing footprint, it was 19,700 square foot, which is rather small. But we increased it to 30,000 and now 30,000 a month. And now the numbers work.
Yeah.
And added $1.5 million worth of value to the property at the same time.
Yeah.
So each scenario, you can buy a 20,000 square foot property and make money off of it.
Yeah.
Or you can buy a $10 million property that's 150,000 square foot and still make money off of it.
Yeah.
So that's why I say, when people bring me properties, I say, give me the opportunity to turn it down.
Yeah.
Because I'll find a golden nugget in there someplace.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Makes sense. Good way to look at it for sure. Now you are the master underwriter from my understanding. So what do you typically look for when you're doing your underwriting?
So I have a guy that works for me by the name of Ross, who's our financial analyst, and he comes out of the entrepreneurial program from U of H. And he has a lot of connections there. And we sourced a guy to build a model that is, like I always say, I like to be the dumbest person in the room. Well, when I sit with him, I feel really stupid. Dude, brilliant, right?
Yeah, yeah.
We paid like $8,000 to have him build an Excel model that has everything in it, from waterfalls to split of cash flow to a basic waterfall to a complicated waterfall to the operational aspect behind it. We are able to, like, if they're already selling insurance at the property, we're able to increase it incrementally, or we're able to add it on the fourth month and have a big number on the fourth month. So the operational aspect behind the underwriting is key. And it's turned out to be the best model in the industry because we put our operational flair behind it.
Yeah.
So we look at that asset and say, we have history. Like, I've had direct reports of self-storage properties of about 1,000 self-storage properties that have at one point or another either reported to me or that I've owned or that I help manage or whatever. And you can argue that there's 1,000 different personalities based on demographics and all that kind of stuff. So we take that particular property, understand the demographics, understand the upside in operations, the upside in restructuring the deal, and then we apply that to our underwriting. And that's truly how we make money. Is, we can look at a property and say, there's not enough climate control, and these two buildings we can take and convert to climate from non-climate. You get a 25% premium. Yeah. And they're 100% occupied. Let's do that. That's a different message than buying the other one to expand it, or the other one to fix it up, or the other one to that's Class A, that's in lease up. I mean, there's all different. So you got to look at it from that standpoint going into your underwriting and then underwrite. Excuse me. Because we're not developers, we just don't underwrite to the lease up of a development. We underwrite to all these little niche categories. And that's truly where the money's at.
Right.
So,
man, that's awesome that you got a underwriting tool like that, man. It sounds very powerful.
Yeah.
Is it for sale?
It is for sale, actually.
Cool. Well, where can the listeners find it at?
PinnacleStorageProperties.com. You can reach out to me or Ross or Kurt on that website. We sell it for $1,000. And then with that $1,000, I'll give you an hour or two's worth of training with Ross so that you can actually know how the model works.
Right.
It's a cool model.
Yeah.
It's a complicated one too.
Right.
And to understand how to underwrite is one of the coolest things about storage. Is once you understand how to do that and what you're looking at, it's and you know this for your single family audiences is you can go look at $100,000 or $150,000 home and decide what you're going to do with that property, or you can go look at a $300,000 or $400,000 home and decide something different that you're going to do with that. And I'll just make up something stupid like in the $150,000 home, it might have Formica countertops, where in the $300,000 you can afford to put granite in, right?
Yeah.
But then you go to your $1 million homes and you're going to use exotic marble, right? So, and you're going to it's going to be charged differently.
Yeah.
Storage is the same way.
Yeah.
If you have gravel parking lots versus concrete versus asphalt, if you have manual gates versus electronic gates, if you have no surfaces, all those kind of things, when you add all of them, it affects your underwriting.
Right.
Well, and then you can charge that premium, and that gap is what makes you and me money.
Right. That's a win.
Then it's fun.
For sure.
Just
okay,
like
man. Right. So, there's a lot of guys trying to get into the space, and there's a lot of mistakes being made. What's the biggest rookie mistake you see people making right now?
Development is one. I mean, so you get these guys that have done concrete their whole life, and they own a concrete finishing company, and they see storage going up all over the place, and they go, I can go do that. So they go build 100,000 square foot of storage in a market that doesn't need it. Yeah. That's probably the biggest rookie mistake.
Right.
And then they don't know how to operate it when it's all said and done, and they can't figure out 3 years later why they're not making their mortgage payment. That's probably the biggest rookie mistake. Who you take in as a partner is important. I mean, I was telling you before the call is we go on a thing of like, trust, and respect, right? And we've walked away from over $1 billion worth of investors in the last 3 years because of trust issues and people lying to you and things like that. Big rookie mistake is who you partner with. You hear horror stories all the time about partnerships that break up and this, that, and the other thing. And I've always said that the reason partnerships break up is one partner feels that the other partner is not working as hard and applying as much value to the partnership. Right. So it goes like this, and one gets pissed off at the other, and next thing you know, you don't have a partnership. Right. I have a beauty in Eric Osterhus and Robbie Dunn that I'm a workaholic, and they outwork me all the time. So we don't have that problem inside our organization. Right. And then when you look at it from an equity investor or partnership on people bringing us deals, there's got to be a trust level there. And if there's not, that's a huge rookie mistake is is making the partnership just to go make money.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you have a belief system that you're going to make money, why not do it with the people you like?
Right.
Right. So,
Right.
and that's how we look at it is we know we're going to make money. We know we're going to grow like we have.
Yeah.
So why not do it with the people that you get along with instead of going, oh my God, I got to call Will again. No, that's Will. I'm just saying.
Right. All right, man. So those some good points there. Let's go ahead and segue to the next segment of the show. It's a deal deep dive. So let's talk about a deal that you've done recently, as far as unit size, what you paid for it, the kind of debt, the value add opportunity you've seen. Let's talk about that.
I'll use an example towards your audience instead of because there's some horror stories in this one and there's a whole bunch of success stories. So we have a business partner on another small business that we helped fund, and this person's in the storage industry but does marketing. Marketing company, does all of our marketing, does our investor packages. The company's called Fine View Marketing out of Austin, Texas. And the owner of that business, I've known and been on best practice groups with sharing ideas for like 8 years.
Yeah.
She found a self-storage property and brought this property to us. She knows how to run them. She knows how to underwrite them. She knows how to, so she found the deal. I'd say 4 parts of the deal, right? Yeah. Found the deal, helped raise equity on it with her friends and family, signed on debt with us, and helps us operate it after it's done. That's the 4 parts of the deal.
Right.
So she brings it to us, and she was willing to do all those things. So we split the deal with her. So we went and found a mutual person that we both know and she does business for, and pitched the deal to this person who is a legend in the storage industry.
Yeah.
The person wanted to pay cash for the property. So it was a $4.2 million property. We offered $3.7 million cash offer.
Yeah.
So we got a discount on cash.
Yeah.
They said yes. We put it under contract. Once it was under contract, we figured out, actually, the guy who was going to pay cash for it figured out, because he's really good at the construction side of stuff.
Yeah.
He figured out that the plat didn't match the survey. So all kinds of platting issues.
Yeah.
Well, he backed out of the deal of paying cash for it. There's the horror story.
Yeah.
After we had it under contract because it didn't match.
Wow.
We went back to the seller and said, look, you've been trying to fix these issues for the last 18 months and haven't fixed them. We're going to offer up our legal team and our title company and our survey company to help you fix it. You've got to fix it. You've got to pay for it. But we'll offer up our lawyer, who is he teaches at Baylor, UT, U of H. He teaches the law department, the real estate law for these colleges, right?
Right.
So I think he knows what he's doing.
Right.
And he's a gray hair guy, so he really knows what he's doing. So we offered all of that up, but in trade for that, we'll give you as much time you need to fix it, but we still want the cash price.
Yeah.
They agreed to that.
Yeah.
Took them 6 months to fix it, which allowed me 6 months to raise the money. Now I didn't have an equity partner. Right? Allowed me 6 months to raise the money. We raised the money on the deal. That deal currently is probably worth $4.7 million.
Yeah.
We've owned it for about 9 months.
Wow. Dang, oh, that's crazy. That much value in that short of time? Wow.
Well, we went in, we repainted, redid the office, new gate, new cameras, new signage. We're right now adding mass units. So Janus International supplies you with these mobile units that look exactly like your building, but they sit on the ground.
Yeah.
They're considered real property, not real estate.
Yeah.
We're just now adding those mass units to the property. And we've been able to increase, by the way, they were 97% occupied when we bought it.
Yeah.
And able to increase the value through increased rental rates, increased ancillary income, U-Haul, things like that.
Yeah.
And here we are, maybe 9 months later, and have added, I'm going to guess, probably $800,000 worth of value to that property.
Wow.
In about a 9 month time frame.
Wow.
Now I got to split that all up with my equity partners and with the owner of Fine View Marketing.
Yeah.
But who cares, right?
Right.
I'd rather a small piece of the pie than walk away hungry.
That's for true. That's for true, man. For sure. So, now I don't know if it's do you allow agency debt? Like, is that something that's allowable in the self-storage space, like Fannie and Freddie?
So you can do SBA. So my second deal that I did, the one in Nacogdoches, we did an SBA loan on that. Mm-hmm. I had like real pretty hair like you got now. Then I did this SBA loan, and by the time I was all done, I pulled my hair out so bad.
Yeah.
Nothing against our government, but the bureaucracy around SBA type of loans.
Yeah.
You got to go through a middleman to get to the SBA, and you don't have a contact at SBA. You go back into their system. They have questions. It goes through their system. They have another question. It goes through their system. They have 6 months worth of these questions, by the way. Don't ask me all the damn questions at one time, right? Ask them one at a time, and so that you go back into the queue over and over again.
Right.
Okay. It made us almost lose the deal when it was all said and done.
Yeah.
It was so painful. So can you do it? Yes. You need to tell the seller that you're using SBA.
Yeah.
So the seller knows that it's going to be a little bit painful.
Right.
If you're buying and you're using SBA, you need to tell them. Because at some point the seller stops being cooperative because it doesn't feel like the deal's going to close.
Right.
So that's the equivalence of FHA in the commercial space is SBA lending.
Gotcha.
Now there's some advantages. It's a lower interest rate. You can get up to 90% financing on the deal. You can add a green component to it on one of their programs that allows you to do solar if you want to, or different thermal heat if you want to.
Yeah.
So there's some cool programs out there that allow you to do some stuff.
Yeah.
But you also have to recognize that they're somewhat painful sometimes too.
Right. So did you go with a conventional on this deal you were just talking about?
Yes, that was a conventional loan. So most of what we do, that's a great question. Most of what we do, I sign on full recourse on the loans. Mm-hmm. We don't do many non-recourse.
Yeah.
And we've done a couple of them. They're same pros and cons. It's a balance of risk versus reward and what you're willing to put up with as pain points, right?
Yeah.
So on non-recourse CMBS style commercial loans, they're much more restrictive and less flexible, but they have good interest rates, good amortization schedules, things like that.
Yeah.
The downfall is you have to abide by these 20 different criteria on a monthly basis. If you want to refinance it or do a refi cash out or all the flexibilities, there's prepayment penalties,
right,
all that kind of stuff. So we tend to go to the conventional lender that is a flexible conventional lender that has some flexibility in a bunch of that stuff. We do burn-offs on our contingent liabilities so that after 1 year it goes down 25%, 2 years 25, and so on until it's a non-recourse loan.
Yeah.
So there's some advantages to that. The negative to going to conventional lenders is they typically have a lending limit of like 6 million or 7 million or even 2 million. Right. So you end up going to that vendor, to that bank. They give you a $3 million loan. They have a $3.5 million lending limit. And now you got to go to a different bank and do it all over again.
Right.
So there's pros and cons to both.
Yeah.
It truly depends on what pain you want to go through. I'd rather shop different vendors and have the flexibility to refinance or sell at any point I want to versus being locked into a 5-year loan or a 10-year loan or something.
Right. And that makes sense. Now, what's the exit strategy? Do you guys buy and hold forever, or do you add the value and sell in about 5 to 7 years?
So I'd like to say we're opportunistic. We've exited a couple properties, but like the one in Livingston, we exited to ourselves.
Yeah.
So we recapitalized it and bought it back off of the other investors because they didn't want to dump the money in to do the expansion. They just wanted the money out. So so we still own it. Yeah. We just own it now with doing the expansion.
Right.
So our exit strategy, like if I was to wave a magical wand and say, this is what I want to do, I would bundle up 40 of these things and go to that 30% that has big money, lay them in their lap, and punch out and go home. But there's some reality there is every deal has a seasoned time frame. Right. And we know they're not all going to be seasoned at the same time. So so we are opportunistic. That's number one. Number two, how we write our company agreements and subscription agreements, we do what's called single purpose LLC, right? Yeah. So each asset is under its own LLC. Yeah. So the company agreement and subscription agreement reads that everybody gets a vote, and it's based on the amount of equity you put in to what percentage of the vote you get. Right. But at any point, if we think we want to bundle these up and sell them, and people in a certain investment don't think it's time to sell that asset, they can vote it down. Yeah. And that's the beauty of it, is we put ourselves in our equities investors mindset, and we write our docs so that it pertains to them. Right. So they have some flexibility and a say in when they get in and when they get out. Right. Like if somebody writes $1 million check on, like, let's say it's a $3 million deal and we're raising $1 million, they get a 50-50 vote with us. Yeah. So we can't do anything without them saying yes. That's right. So it's a balance of risk, right? If you're going to take the risk on $1 million, you better be able to have a say. But I'm not going to give you control of the deal and give you 51%. Right. We do 50-50, and we got to agree on something. Yeah. Where if I syndicate a deal, it's a super majority vote. Yeah. And you know, one person gets 5%, another person gets 8%, and blah, 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 blah. Right. That's how the vote happens. Gotcha. So our exit is opportunistic. Yep. But if I had a magical wand, I'd bundle them all together, sell them all at one time, and me and my team and my investors could punch out and go home. That's right. All right, man. So let's go ahead and segue to the last segment of the show. It's the lightning round. I got 5 questions for you. Hit it. All right. What's the best advice you ever been given? Whew. You guys, your audience don't know my sense of humor or what came into my head because it has nothing to do with real estate. So best advice I ever began giving. The best advice I was ever given was from my last boss at the Jenkins organization named Ricky Jenkins. And his advice was, you're fired. He fired me for my last job.
Yeah.
Best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
So
Gotcha.
I called my brother. Actually, that segues into really what my best advice was. Is I called my brother the day after, who is on my board of directors. He doesn't know it, but he is. And I called him. I said, hey, Ricky fired me yesterday. And he did what any good brother would do. He said, congratulations. He said, this is the biggest opportunity of your life. You've got all the pieces of the puzzle lined up. What are you waiting for?
Yeah.
And I said, that's a good question. What am I waiting for? He said, go do it. 4 years later, $100 million worth of storage. Best advice I ever got was from my brother Joe after I got fired.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. What's the best book you've read in the last 12 months?
So right now I'm in the process of reading a book by Richard Wilson, who owns the Family Office Club. He wrote a book called Centimillionaires, and it's really changing my mindset. The book is geared to the family office and the centimillionaires.
Yeah.
What a centimillionaire is any family that has $100 million worth of net worth or more, but they're not a billionaire yet.
Right.
So they're called centimillionaire. I never heard the terminology before until I met Richard.
Yeah.
It's changing my mindset on how to look at money and how to look at money in the world compared to what the internal operations of how they do it are.
Yeah.
So I've been a student of business for 30 years. I'm just fascinated with how businesses run, and everybody runs their businesses differently. You don't think that the ultra rich actually run their families like a business, and then they all do it differently. It's really changed my mindset on how to look at people and how they run their businesses when they're ultra wealthy. I grew up poor, so I didn't know what money was about. Yeah. So because of that, I had to periodically change my financial blueprint.
Right.
His book is helping change my financial blueprint one more time, which is kind of cool.
Cool. What are some rituals you're doing right now that's making you a better person or investor in general?
A better person is just over the last couple of weeks, I've been starting to eat better, because one of the downfalls of me starting this company and opening the company is the extreme travel schedule that I've had. So I've put on 35 pounds since I started this company, and I always tease that I got fat. I'm not used to that. I've always been a pretty physically fit person. So over the last couple of weeks, I've really programmed myself to start eating healthier. So that's one of the rituals I've got into. But from an investment standpoint and an investor and operator standpoint, I look at numbers every single day. Yeah. I look at numbers on our assets every single day. Yeah. My stores at night before they close send me an email of all of their numbers every single day. So I get 20 emails from 20 stores right now that I look at on a daily basis. And then every time I have my laptop open, I log into our operating software and I look at numbers every single day. I've done that. I'm a numbers guy. Yeah. And the reason I'm a numbers guy is because it equates to behaviors, whether it's your store team's behavior or your customer's behavior or your investor's behavior. It relates to that. So the ritual that I've always got into is I memorize those numbers, and in my head, I can tell whether they're going up or down.
Right.
That's a ritual I've been in forever.
Yeah.
So I gave you a short-term one. I gave you a long-term one.
Cool. Good deal. All right. So what is the one thing you're focusing on right now to help you improve your business?
So one of the things that I'm focusing on right now is helping professional athletes understand how money works. I think I've got a couple buddies that are ex-athletes. I now have a new friend in you, ex-athlete. The unfortunate thing for people like myself, I was never a professional athlete, but I grew up poor. I didn't know how money worked. And through the years, I've learned how money works. So I've been focusing on getting in a network of professional athletes, whether it's NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA, even in the entertainment industry, like WWE guys, things like that. You guys get screwed all the time. And what I want to help with is I don't want their money. I want to help teach them what financial literacy is about. I met with a kid recently that's going to be in the first or second round of the NFL draft next year. And they grew up poor. And I said to him, when you sign a $5 million contract, your instinct's going to be to go out and buy $1 million home.
Right.
I said, and that's really not what you need to do. You need to go out and buy a cash flowing, producing asset or business that produces, let's say, 10% a year. And let's say you'd buy it for $1 million, which is $100,000.
Yeah.
Which means about $9,000 a month mortgage payment that you can afford, and then go buy the house
right
that you can afford for that $9,000. So if you ever lose the house, you still have $1 million property or business.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't want your money. I want to teach you how to do this so that you don't go broke. And if you look at the athletes like Shaquille O'Neal, Emmitt Smith, Peyton Manning, these guys, that's exactly what they've done.
Yeah.
Is they've taken that, and Shaq bought into Papa John's and to Carnival cruises and all that kind of stuff, so that money spins off money that he can afford a lifestyle off of that money, instead of just going and spending that money. So what I've been focusing on recently is networking with those professional athletes and entertainers to help them understand that. And it's my way of giving back, because I didn't know it 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I didn't know how money worked.
Yeah.
So if I can share my knowledge and help them create wealth, it's not just a splash in the pan, so to speak, for that player. You know this. NFL players last 3 years in the NFL, right? The average is 5.
Yeah.
Well, what do you do after 5 years?
Yeah.
Well, you got to start thinking about that the day you sign your contract.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So that's been my focus.
Yeah.
I want to give back. I want to help. I got a couple buddies that played in the NFL. That my next door neighbor played for the Eagles, the Colts, and the Jaguars. Yeah. So, and he's one of my number one investors. So, and it all started sitting on his sofa, drinking beer, talking about what we want to do the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
And he's bought into food trucks and different restaurants, as well as different kinds of real estate and all that. And now he's sitting pretty. Yeah. And by the way, he's 2 games away from having a pension in the NFL. He only played for 3 years.
Oh, wow. Dang, that sucks, man.
So he has to create himself wealth.
Absolutely.
He doesn't have a choice.
Absolutely.
That's
all right.
a perfect example of some of the athletes that I'd love to help.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, man. All right, so here's the last question for you. If you can give your younger self one tip in regards to investing, what would that be?
Do it sooner.
Yeah. Simple.
That's it.
Simple.
Face your fear.
Absolutely.
Go do it sooner. So it took my brother to kick me in the ass and say, congratulations.
Yeah.
I wish you'd have done that 15 years ago.
Right. Absolutely.
Do it sooner. Mine was all fear-based and comfort-based.
Yeah.
So I had a consistent paycheck, a good paycheck. I kept climbing the corporate ladder, made me feel good, boosted my ego. I got more money at the same time. I lived a good lifestyle, had nice houses, nice cars, all that.
Right.
But in the end, I could have done what I'm doing now 15 years ago and been so much further along than what I was then. But I also believe that things happen in your life when you're ready.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to hear my brother's message until that day.
Yeah.
And then I was ready.
Right.
So if I had to go back, I'd say, suck it up, Johnny boy, and let's go do this now. That's all I'm going to do.
Right. Good deal, man. Well, hey, John, really appreciate you coming on the show today, man. You added a lot of value to my listeners, and I'm pretty sure they want to be reaching out to you. What's the best way to get in touch with you? It's
John at johnmanes.com, and that's MANES. My cell phone is 210-818-1496. PinnacleStorageProperties.com is the website. You can do all kinds of research on there. And I mean this as genuinely as I can possibly say it. I am of servant mentality. I just listed my phone number. Shame on you if you don't call me. Right. Call me. I'll help you. I promise. Right. I will. I offer that up all the time, and fear gets in the way of people. Yeah. Face your fear, people. Call me. I'll help you for free.
Good deal, man. Well, hey, appreciate you coming on today, and let's stay in touch.
It's been my pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Generational Wealth Through Commercial Real Estate podcast, brought to you by Onyx Capital Investments. Onyx Capital Investments works with investors nationwide to invest in income-producing real estate in emerging markets. Connect online at www.onyxcapitalinvestments.com to learn more about what we're doing. If we have added value to your life, please leave us a review.